Welcome to Talk Travel with Heather Tate, North Mississippi's podcast for savvy travelers. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is a weekly podcast that airs every Monday on the Shark 102.3 FM radio station based in Ripley, Mississippi, and is then released as a podcast. Travel advisor and travel enthusiast Heather Tate of Whimsical Destinations gives listeners expert travel tips curated through the years of personal and professional experience. By clicking subscribe, you'll have a new travel tip to add to your collection delivered to your podcast library every Monday. Talk Travel with Heather Tate is brought to you by Sun Bear Studio. Sun Bear Studio is a boutique recording studio in the heart of Ripley, Mississippi. When you record with us at Sun Bear Studio, we can mix, master, register, and publish your music, your podcast, or your family story. Email us when you're ready at sunbear@jc.media.
This program was recorded at Sun Bear Studio in Ripley, Mississippi.
Good morning, Northeast Mississippi travelers. This is Heather with Talk Travel with Heather Tate, and I am so excited to share my adventures and tried and true tips with you, whether you are also a seasoned traveler, a hopeful traveler, or currently an armchair traveler, meaning you're going to follow along with us from home for now. This is our 170th episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. And this week, we are going to talk about voluntourism, complicated kindness. So what is voluntourism? Basically, voluntourism is combining volunteering with tourism. It's a vacation with a greater purpose. Now, when said that way, and the way I've always intended it, it's a beautiful thing. But as I've learned while researching this topic, it is very important to think about the positive and negative impacts that voluntourism can have to an area, to a community. It is a $173 billion industry. And I had to read that multiple times because I did not think of it being an industry in and of itself. So, like I said, it's a vacation on a mission. You can add on to an existing vacation, projects, usually short term, instead of a long-term project. So this is not the same as a mission trip where the full purpose, the full intention is for serving an area, serving a community, helping the environment. It's not the full purpose. It's combining what you want to do with how you can help someone else. So in theory, I think it's a good thing, and I think it can be a very good thing. But here's what I have learned and what I want to share, because I think there are some red flags when it comes to voluntourism that I had not considered before. And I'm now going to be even more cautious going forward. Let's talk about some positives first, because I love the positive. Okay, so there are lots of environmental opportunities. You can help make a place better when you leave than when you arrived. And I think at the heart of it, that's what voluntourism should be. Whether you call it that or whether you say, I'm just going on a trip. We should always look for ways to leave a place better than we found it. And that's not just when we leave the country. That's not just when we leave our homes. That can be, like when we're in our own communities, right? Anytime we go somewhere, whether it's for one night, for a week, or for longer, leave the place and the people better than you found them. And if you do that, then all the other things are going to fall into place. So some positives. It can improve our environment, help our environment, encourage conservation. It can offer relief or hope. You can develop mutual respect for each other, develop your own empathy and gratitude. See, all of these things are good. What are some things that you can do? Like I said, some things that you can do involve the environment. Beach cleanup, right? Helping the coral reefs. There are a lot of different ways, if you wanted to learn to scuba dive, that you have to get different certifications. And some of these certifications, including growing new coral reefs, starting up new coral reefs, establishing them, helping them develop. Those are ways you can get new certifications and you're doing good at the same time. Also, I have clients that one of the certifications they recently received while scuba diving in Curacao was lionfish hunting, because that's an invasive species that is doing more harm than good to the coral reefs. And so that is a certification that he received. with lionfish hunting. So there are things in the environment. Oh, another one. I've told you about the sea turtle rescue experience we had a few years ago in Jamaica, where we went with our best friends and our children. And it was an educational experience, and we also were able to help the baby sea turtles make their way to the sea. And there were a much higher percentage then that made it to the sea than would normally otherwise without human intervention. So all these things, are very positive things. The last time we went to Jamaica, which was a month ago, one thing I'd always wanted to take part in was a reading road trip. And that is partnered with the Sandals Foundation, where they have schools in the community. You can bring backpacks full of school supplies when you go to any Sandals or Beaches resort. This is something wonderful you can do. Doesn't take any extra time once you're there. All you do is turn it in with the front desk when you get there, and they will distribute the backpacks into the schools where there's a need. And now the kids will have new backpacks and new supplies. So that's an easy thing that we can do to help to participate. So you want to partner with organizations that are ongoing. You don't want it to be where I'm going just to make myself feel better. Just to I have an itch I need to scratch. I want to do something good, check it off my list, and go on about my day. And so this is where I had to hold up the mirror to myself for when I want to go and help. Am I going because I want to help just because I want to help for me, because it makes me feel good? Or am I going because it's going to really help someone else? So asking those questions, honestly answering them, asking the locals in the community, is this something beneficial? Is this really helping your community or not? These are important questions to ask. What are some dangers with voluntourism? Well, there's some red flags. Anything where children could be exploited needs to you really need to think closely, about going into certain destinations, whether it's an orphanage, for example, that could be a red flag. What organizations are you partnering with? Are they, trustworthy organizations that are proving to do a lot of good for the community themselves, not just where it's about the organization themselves making money? Another danger are the volunteers. Are they skilled or not? Do they need to be skilled? You don't want this to be a Band-Aid type fix. If you're going and these projects are created just for you to feel like you're doing something, but it's not really helping the community, or maybe you don't have any skills and you're not going to be taught the skills while you're there because there's not a length of stay where you can develop those skills, then maybe it's a Band-Aid fix and someone else is going to have to come in after you to repair it correctly. Is it beneficial, like I said before, only to the volunteers, or is it beneficial to the community? How do we balance these skills? So first, being aware, that it's not always positive. So how do we make this positive for everyone involved? So intention matters. Are you going for you, or are you going for someone else because you want to help someone else and you are willing to do what they need you to do, not just what you want to do? So asking yourself, is it truly beneficial to the ones being served, or is it just to feel good myself? Am I going to contribute to ongoing projects? So this is a great question. If it's something where you're getting plugged in and it's a project that's established before you get there and will be established even after you're gone, it's not going away, it's not dependent on if you are physically there or not, then that is a good indication that it is something that the community needs. You're not going and potentially taking a paid job away from someone else who lives there to be able to do it. It's something that is needed. Maybe it's a time-sensitive activity that you're needing to do. And this is important. If there have been damage from a hurricane or a tornado or another natural disaster, flooding of some kind, and they need immediate assistance, right? That's an all hands on deck situation. This is not where you're going and everything is perfectly great and we're just going to, do some things. We're going to dig some holes, and as soon as we leave, those holes are going to be refilled and other people are going to come and dig those holes, and then when we leave, they're going to be refilled. Does that make sense? And I hadn't thought about it before. But when I really started thinking about it, I'm like, there's a responsibility that we have if we want to take part in volunteering. When we're traveling, yes, I want to teach my children to give back. Yes, I want to teach them that it is better, to give than receive. But I don't want it to become where it's just about us and just about how we feel while we're doing it. I want it to be that we're actually making a difference in the area, in the community where we are. And also, that mentality, that attitude needs to be anywhere we are, not just when we're on vacation, but when we're at home as well. And then maybe thinking about what are our skills, what are our strengths. When we were able to go to the reading road trip a month ago, it is something that I've done for years. I love early literacy. Childhood literacy is a passion of mine. My first career, I was an English instructor. Reading to children is something I've always loved. I read to my boys even now, and I encourage them, to read to other children. It was for 2 hours. And so that's why I had to think, I'm like, well, for 2 hours, it didn't take much time of our trip. But then I'm like, did it make an impact? Was it mutually beneficial? We got to go to a school that was funded by the Sandals Foundation, and we were able to read books to the children. They were very excited that we were there. We got to encourage them, and, they encouraged the love of reading. When we arrived, the electricity had just gone out, and they were going to get out of school early that day. But we weren't keeping them from anything. We weren't preventing them from doing something else they needed to do educational-wise. We were encouraging reading. So we were just like guest readers, where you would have a guest reader come to your class here and read. And we'll have kids love to have someone else read to them sometimes. It gives the teachers a break. We were able to, to plug in something that they were already doing. And they go every week. When we went to Negril, every week they will have volunteers that will come and read, and they're able to use the funds that we contributed to be able to go, that goes towards the foundation to help the kids in the community. And our driver told us afterwards how grateful they were that we went, that it was very important to them that Sandals Foundation has these schools for their local children and the opportunities that they have through this school. So that kind of reiterated to me then, okay, this is something that is mutual beneficial, and the community wants us to be there. We're not adding a burden. And so I think that's important in any time to think of future voluntourism opportunities. I want to reflect and ask these questions to myself, ask these questions to my family. Are we really helping? Is this the best thing that we could do in this time? Maybe it's sometimes you just need to give money, give time, or maybe at other times then it's you're giving your skills. So it's not always either or. Sometimes it's all three. But then you're just asking yourself, in which situation do I need to do this? And in this situation, which should I do? And when you do that honest reflection, that's when voluntourism is a positive and not a danger or a negative. That is all the time we have for this week's episode of Talk Travel with Heather Tate. I have some pictures of examples of things that we have taken part in, the reading road trip and the sea turtle release. And if there's a project that you have taken part in that is a good one to partner with, I would love for you to share that with me as well, because I think part of it is education and getting out which organizations really want and need us to partner with them and which ones maybe are not as altruistic as others. That is all the time we have for this week. Life is a great adventure. Whether you're home, out in your community, or abroad, make the most of it. Life is short. Take the trip. Make those memories. You won't regret it.
This show is made possible by JC Media, LLC in Ripley, Mississippi. JC Media owns the Shark 102.3 Classic Rock FM radio station where the show is hosted, and Sun Bear Recording Studio where the interviews are recorded. We need your feedback and support. If you listen to the podcast on a player like iTunes, Google Podcasts, or Amazon Music, please subscribe to the show and leave us a review. We also have an email in which you can share your feedback. That email is theshark1023@gmail.com. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite app or stream episodes online at shark1023.com/podcasts. Today's episode was produced by Melinda Marsalis. It was edited by Rick Williams and engineered by Chris Marsalis. The podcast technician is Joyce Grady.